It started the day I signed that non-disclosure agreement. I sat across from him, Sean Combs, his gaze unwavering as I scrawled my name on the dotted line. $5 million, tax-free, offshore. All I had to do was stay silent. But in that moment, I realized I was no longer protecting him. I was protecting my own survival. I wasn't just his fixer. Over the years, I had become an extension of his will, arranging parties, booking flights, manipulating documents, covering tracks. I thought I had control. I thought I was the unspoken power behind the throne. But now, as I signed, I understood. I was merely his puppet, and the money was his final leash. I watched her leave that party in tears, I whisper into the mic. But I told myself she was just upset, that it wasn't my fault, until it was. I was introduced to him in 2014 through a mutual acquaintance, a club owner in Miami who told me Sean was looking for someone discreet. I thought discreet meant diplomatic, PR cleaning up after headlines. Never did I imagine it meant orchestrating a web of psychological manipulation, coercion, and fear. By 2015, I had a regular role, organizing what we called VIP mixers, secret invitations to elite guests, high-stakes deals, luxury experiences. We flew people across state lines, signed NDAs, booked private jets. On paper, it was all legal entertainment. In reality, it was the perfect setup. But then came Elisa. Elisa flew in from Atlanta in late 2015 for a private weekend experience. She was stunning, bright smile, nervous eyes. I picked her up from LAX at dawn and drove her to the Bel Air compound. She asked, "Is this safe?" I told her it was. I lied. That night, I saw her slip out of the back exit. Tears streaked down her face. I chased her, but she swore she'd handle it. 2 weeks later, she called me drunk. She said she had recorded them, her voice trembling. She warned she'd tell everything unless we paid her off. We paid. That day, I realized this wasn't just consensual fun. This was a system. Tested, refined, enforced. Victims with secrets. Weapons. In early 2016, I was promoted. No more mixers. I was now escorting high-profile guests, enforcing rules, monitoring loyalty. I hired models, liaisons, travel coordinators, all shadows in the background, but I controlled the network. By 2017, the arrangement became structured. We tested guests' boundaries. We offered fame and fortune in exchange for silence. Some took it greedily. Others resisted and were broken. Fines, blackmail, career threats. I always told myself I operated on consent, but every rule carried a hidden penalty. Cassie Ventura came into the picture around 2012, but it wasn't until 2018 that she confided in me. Our dynamic shifted when she visited the penthouse. She told me about hidden cameras, surveillance. She believed she was being watched, coerced. I tried to help her leave. I arranged a private jet, but she felt trapped by fame, by money, by fear of his power. And then she took the stand. In court on May 12th, 2025, her voice small, yet powerful, she described a hallway encounter in March 2016 where Sean forced himself on her. She spoke of threats on a private jet. She named me, my exact words, my voice recorded. The courtroom silenced. That moment changed everything. What I held together for years shattered in under an hour. Soon after, the charges dropped. 4 verdicts, not guilty on racketeering and trafficking, but guilty on 2 counts under the Mann Act. Transporting for prostitution. The world erupted. Headlines declared partial victory. My task of rewriting his narrative became impossible. That night before verdict, he called me, calm, unflappable. "They're not touching me on bigger counts," he promised. "But you need to disappear." He offered me $5 million. All I had to do was vanish. Instead, I booked a meeting in a federal office at dawn. I told them everything: documents, flight logs, contracts, payments. I handed over Camtasia footage of his private parties. I supplied chat logs tying him to blackmail schemes. I walked away with nothing but fear and hope. I broke my bond to the empire. This was never just parties. It was a psychological system. He promised loyalty, family, and belonging, but demanded perfect silence. He offered girls the world, then trapped them. He had us complicit: the fixers, the guards, the finance people. Every layer believed we were protecting a legend. But legends aren't built on truth, they're built on myth, and when you expose the myth, everything crumbles. I relive nights in penthouse lounges, cigar smoke, royalty vibes, promises of fame. Guests whispered about more than business: cameras, discreet lads to bring women, secret codes. I delivered agendas, handled payments, manipulated contracts. Each time I thought I saw fear, Elisa's tears, Cassie's pleas, I rationalized it, part of the package. By 2023, I was exhausted. My name leaked. Journalists dug. Victims came forward. I realized my empire had no defense left. Standing in that federal building, debriefing investigators, I felt a weight lift, but fear followed. I had helped conceal abuses. I sheltered a predator. I melted boundaries for fame. And I was scared others would get me for it. But telling the truth was my escape. The courtroom empties, cameras off. I leave with a new identity, new name, no fortune, just a story. This isn't just another scandal, it's a psychological crime, a predatory network, a system built on fear and obedience. I wasn't just his fixer, I was his instrument. Now, I warn those still inside, he's not invincible. Expose your truth. Pull the curtain back, show the world the puppet strings. Because once the truth is out, the puppet becomes the player. It has been months since I walked out of that courthouse, months since the headlines faded from the front pages, replaced by fresher scandals and newer controversies. But for me, nothing has faded, nothing has ended. I'm not free. I don't think I'll ever be free, because the truth isn't something you can simply confess and walk away from. I live under a different name now, different city, different face, but some nights I still feel the weight of the puppet strings around my wrists. I thought I'd escaped the machine, but the machine never truly lets go. It began again with a phone call. I was in a small rental apartment halfway across the country, trying to rebuild some semblance of a normal life. The number was blocked. The voice on the other end was one I hadn't heard in years. It wasn't Diddy. It was one of his old attorneys. "They're reopening it," he said, calm and cold. "You're going to be subpoenaed." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Another victim has come forward," he continued. "And this time, it's bigger than before." I hung up without responding. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept playing it all back. The flights, the threats, the women, the hidden cameras. I remembered one woman in particular. Her name was Rhea. She wasn't like the others. She wasn't there for fame or money. She'd been trafficked from overseas, promised a job, only to find herself trapped in the same web I'd helped weave. She had vanished in 2019. No one talked about her. I assumed she'd been paid off or had run far away. But now, according to the attorney, she was back. She was pressing charges, and she was naming me. I knew what this meant. I wasn't just a witness anymore. I was a co-conspirator. The federal agents showed up 2 days later. Quiet, professional. They had enough to arrest me on conspiracy charges, but they didn't. Instead, they offered me a deal. "Full immunity," the agent said, sliding a document across the table. in exchange for everything, every detail, every name, every dollar. I signed. The next weeks were a blur of interrogation rooms and depositions. I gave them everything: records, emails, bank statements. I detailed the recruitment process, the transportation logistics, the payouts, the threats. I named celebrities, executives, politicians. No one was safe. Ria's case went public a month later. The world thought they'd seen the worst of it. They hadn't. Her story was darker than anything that had surfaced before. She had been brought in under false pretenses, stripped of her passport, and kept in a private estate for nearly 2 years. There were tapes, dozens of them, and in several, my face was visible. The media exploded. Suddenly, I wasn't just the fixer behind the scenes. I was front and center. I became the face of the machine. And Diddy? He vanished. No one knew where he'd gone. Rumors spread that he'd fled the country, hiding in Europe or South America. But I knew better. He wasn't running, he was preparing. Because even after everything, I knew how he thought. He wouldn't go down quietly. And sure enough, a month after Ria's case hit, he resurfaced. He released a video. Calm, collected, calculated. He denied everything, blamed me, said I had acted alone, that I had manipulated him, that I was the real mastermind. And people believed him. Suddenly, my name was everywhere. My new identity leaked, my face plastered across every screen. I received death threats. I had to move again, deeper underground. But I wasn't done, because I knew the truth. I had receipts. I had more than they realized. The final card I'd been holding on to for years. A backup drive, encrypted, hidden, containing every email, every message, every transaction, everything. I sent it to the feds anonymously, and then I waited. It took weeks, but the moment it broke, I knew. They raided his last known properties. Unsealed indictments dropped. The media shifted again. Suddenly I wasn't the villain. I was the whistleblower, the survivor, the man who exposed the empire. But it wasn't over, because even with him gone, the machine still existed. The enablers, the financiers, the others who had profited from it all. They were still out there, watching, waiting. I live in hiding now. No name, no friends, no family, just the ghosts of what I've done. But sometimes, late at night, when the world is quiet and I can almost forget who I was, I wonder, did I really destroy the machine? Or did I just become another part of it?